Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of It Ain't Weak to Speak. My name is Sam Webb, and this show is dedicated to ending the stigma around mental health through community, connection, and the hard-hitting truth. I'll be speaking with guests from all over the world about life to inspire and to educate people to speak up so that we can save more lives. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Well, I'm joined here today by a great guy who I've only met for a couple of years, and I was very fortunate to have met him at a speaking gig not so long ago, but he's done an amazing work with his organisation. Thank you, and I can't wait to chat to him, and here he is, Jared Burns. How are you, mate?
Hello, good, mate. Great to be on here. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure, and you're calling in from Melbourne, I see.
I am, mate. I'm in our little nursery. We've got another little baby on the way.
Oh, you do?
We haven't announced publicly, so don't tell anyone.
No, I won't. Congratulations, mate.
Thanks, mate. Yeah. We're about 7 weeks away before we have the world shaken up again. So the third one in the tribe.
Wow. So, boy or girl, or surprise?
We've got a little boy, so I've got two other little girls.
Wow.
And then we swore after the second girl that we weren't going to go again. And then lo and behold, a year into the journey, it all seemed too easy again. So we rolled the dice and got myself a boy. So, mate, over the moon.
Mate, you'd be chuffed with that, wouldn't you, mate?
Very happy. Teach me how to kick a footy. Not the girls can't kick a footy. They can definitely kick a footy. But no, mate, I'm wrapped.
Nice, man. Nice. Well, thank you. Welcome. Thanks for coming on and giving up your time. I understand you're very busy. But mate, you've got so much that I personally want to learn from, that I want to pick your brain on today, and I'm sure that the listeners will walk away with a lot from this episode, no doubt.
Okay.
So, I mean, obviously, I met you, as I mentioned earlier. I met you at an event for, I think it was the Flight Centre group in Sydney a couple of years ago, and
good old Ivy.
Yes, that was it. And we were on a panel, and we were speaking, and we obviously got to meet. I'd heard a thank you, obviously, for a number of years prior to that, seen the great work Thank You does, and seeing it on shelves in grocery stores and things like that, which was awesome. But I hadn't really spoken to anyone from the organisation and knew exactly what was going on and how did they get to be this big, great social impact organisation. Coming from, Livin, and when we started, we started in 2013 and Thank You started in 2008, which was just in the middle of the GFC, believe it or not.
Perfect timing.
Perfect timing. And I feel like I want to dive into that, mate, and find, how did that all come about for you? Because I know, my story, about Livin, why Livin started after the death of a good friend, and we were trying to turn something negative into something positive. But your interest in entrepreneurship, getting into a social impact organization with Thank You, and coming up with those ideas and why and where you start. I've just got so much I want to speak to you about, mate. So where do we start?
Yeah, cool. Mate, let's get into it. Why don't we wind it back to when I was about maybe 14 or 15 years old. The passion for entrepreneurship kind of kicked off then. I'd always been interested in the idea of just creating something from nothing, creating money from an idea, just how do you go about that? So I was always working from a pretty young age. I did paper rounds at my mum's hospital, and I worked at McDonald's. I was flipping burgers at the back, and just always interested in that kind of concept of generating cash, to put it really simply. So I also started selling, my first business, I guess, was selling Coke out of my locker in school when I was in year 10. And
is that even legal, mate? Selling.
Well, it depends what type of Coke you're talking about. But, for me, it was definitely Coca-Cola, Fanta, and the whole range. But it was a good business. I'd pick up cans from the supermarket on sale for about 40 cents and flip them for $1.50 in the locker. Canteen was selling for $2, so I kind of had the market there. And then I had this beady little bloke, Daniel Flynn, start up a similar type of shop in his locker. And he started selling Coke cans, and we're going back and forth. Who can capture the market? He then one day got a letter from the canteen going, cease trading immediately. We know what you're doing. I don't know who tipped him off, but then I had the market again, so I was pretty wrapped. So kept going with that.
Mate, did you tip him off or what? What happened? Is that an
Mate,
inside
I'm not saying
job, mate?
anything.
Talk to me about this one. Is it?
Keep these lips sealed.
Yeah, right. Wow. Okay.
But got the market back and kept on selling. So that was the first little dabble into entrepreneurship. Dan and I stayed friends since then, and we launched our first business. I think we were about 18 or 19 years old out of school, called Curb Print Solutions. So Dan we were both working traffic control. Dan was working one day doing the old stop slow lollipop man job, and he noticed this guy running down to the curb and spray painting something on a curb, and then running to the next house and spray painting again. So he went up to the bloke and he goes, "What are you doing, mate?" He goes, "Oh, mate, I'm just killing it. I'm spray painting house numbers on the curb for people. They pay me $20 to do it." We're like, "What are we doing traffic control for? Let's do this." So we registered Curb Print Solutions, hit the road, and I think we sold maybe three little spray painting jobs after a good 3 or 4 days on the road. So really slow. One was to Dan's parents, one was to my parents, and then one was to a lady in eastern suburbs of Melbourne. So not successful, and we definitely didn't have the patience or the persistence to carry that on. So
it's great effort, though, mate.
Quick. So we gave it a crack. Middle of summer too.
Timing.
So then post that, so I guess the idea of entrepreneurship was kind of just in there. Post that, Dan came to me one day and just said, "Mate, I've got an idea. There's a huge issue in the world around the world water crisis. Hundreds of millions of people don't have access to clean water. Thousands are dying every single day. I think it's 4,500 kids are dying every single day just because they don't have access to safe water."
That's around the world. That's globally, yeah?
Around the world.
Wow.
So just crazy numbers worldwide. So the idea was, what if we create our own brand of bottled water and give 100% of the profits to aid and development programs around the world? Funding wells, filtration systems, that kind of thing, trying to give access to safe water for people who should just have it. I was immediately hooked on the idea, obviously loving business, and then inside of me, always wanting just to help people. I think that came from a really early age. I grew up with parents who loved to help people, gave to the local charities, that type of thing. So it was kind of just in me. So the two things really just aligned nicely, and we kicked off in 2008, as you mentioned.
Wow. And where did it, like, for something like that? I mean, it's great having an idea and identifying, an important need in the world, especially with water, and with 4,500 plus, people dying.
Yeah, crazy numbers.
Those numbers are prolific, obviously, but there is many other diseases and causes and things in need around the world. And to be able to unpack this, like, where does it all start for you guys? Like, obviously you didn't come from anything from poverty when you were young. Water wasn't.
No, mate. I lived a very blessed life. We weren't super wealthy, but we never went without. Yeah. So, mate, I count my lucky stars for that. Very, very blessed. Yeah. But I think the inner want to help people less fortunate was always there. I remember we saw videos early on when we were coming up with the concept around, children walking kilometers and kilometers a day, like kids our age, walking, 4, 6, 8 kilometers a day to get dirty water to then bring back to their families. And Dan saw this video of this one kid, same age, bringing this water back, and it ended up killing his 2 younger sisters. Wow. So just like these stories which we just could relate to and connect with. I've got an older sister, Dan's got 2 younger sisters. Like, it was just, we couldn't turn a blind eye after we saw that. Like, there was just something that was just so, we just needed to do something.
I find it very fascinating, mate. And the reason why I ask that question is because most people that I'm able to connect with, and I'm very grateful to be able to connect with all over the world, especially through living and the work that, I do and we do. Yeah. And whatever else. I feel like a lot of people set up organizations and non-profits or charities or social impact organizations or social purpose organizations, whatever you want to call them,
Mm.
because they've had trauma in their life or they've come through something
Yeah.
where they're trying to turn a negative into something positive. You're the perfect example of, you know, you said it earlier that you never really went without, you know, this wasn't something that was near and dear to your heart in terms of you've suffered it personally, but you can relate to it on a number of different fronts, which drove you to be super passionate and purpose driven from this, which is inspiring because a lot of people wait for something bad to happen for them to flick a switch in their mind and say, oh shit, I need to do something now, which is I'm one of them, you know, I'm one of them.
Yeah.
So I mean, for you, it's actually, I find that quite inspiring. Like being able to sit back and go, I want to help, I want to give back, and this is what I can do, and this is how we can make it work.
Yeah, it was a different approach, that's for sure. We it probably wasn't until I think the third or fourth year in the journey that we were even able to go overseas where we had been funding for 3 or 4 years. So it wasn't even that, like we hadn't been to Africa and seen the need or anything. We just watched a couple of YouTube videos.
So when you were starting out and raising funds and all that, where did it start? Did it start in someone's house? Did it start in the kitchen?
Yeah. We met at Dan's lounge room. Dan's family lounge room was a pretty frequent place we would meet at. You know, we'd get stock into Dan's garage, parents' garage was just lined with stock of bottled water, and anywhere we could meet, mate. Anywhere we'd have big gatherings. I think at Justine's house one night we had about 20 volunteers in the room, just brainstorming launch ideas and trying to just gather the people and get as much groundswell as possible. So very humble beginnings in terms of raising funds. We didn't really do it. Dan had a mentor who gave us a $20,000 check just as a gift, just inspired that we hadn't waited and gone, we need $1 million before we're going to launch. But it was more that, like, let's just start acting, and then the strategy will come. Like, let's just take action, and then we'll figure out the way. So his mentor was inspired by that, gave us $20K, and that really kicked us off. And then with just some, I guess, clever way of structuring deals with suppliers and customers, we're able to kind of run a cash flow positive business from day one.
How do you do that? When you say clever ways of structuring, what do you mean exactly? Because that was your role, wasn't it, in procurement and whatnot?
You got it. Tough word.
Tough word, mate. It's a tongue twister.
Procurement. It is. Yeah, that was kind of my gig. So I looked after supply chain and the commercial side of the business. We started off everyone doing everything, and as you can imagine, and as you can probably experience, that's just a mess.
It's all right, mate.
All that does is give you 5-hour meetings and no progress. So we divided it up pretty quickly into areas that we were naturally gifted in or just passionate about. And I kind of fell into numbers and supply chain. So, I mean, the way we would structure deals, it's really simple. Basically, the idea would be that we never want to have to pay supplier until we've been paid by customer. So we would make sure that the terms we have with our customer, call it 30 days end of month, you get paid by customer. We then only want to pay our supplier 45 days end of month for that stock.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's a really simple concept to get people over the line. To get people over the line with that can be tough. But I think from, the vision and the impact that we're making, people have a really good heart. Deep down, people are good people. Peel back a few layers for some people, but, a lot of people just wanted to help as well. And they're excited to be part of the journey.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. And I guess given the purpose and what you guys have set out to do and to achieve, people would understand that these guys have certain payment terms and this is how they operate, and we just got to work in with how they work. Otherwise, this isn't going to work. Yeah. So I think that's really important, mate, and good stuff. Do you think if you weren't given the $20K check by Dan's mentor, Daniel Flynn's mentor, it would have been a different story? This? Do you think that was definitely a breakthrough for you guys, or that was just a little bit of icing on the cake?
Look, not to take away from that mentor at all, like incredibly generous man or pair of men, business partners. But I think we always stood by the idea that if the idea is good enough, the money will come.
Totally.
So we just believe that. We knew that this thing wasn't destined to fail, that we had a really great idea and a good team. And we knew that, yeah, if it wasn't the mentor, then it would have been someone else, or we would have found it somewhere else. I would have got a job and paid for it. Like, it was going to happen. It was more just an if and when, or not an if, a when and how.
Yeah, right. No, it's interesting. Yeah. And that just, I mean, money's one thing, and for the most part, money, I believe, is a byproduct of the great work that gets done. And I think if you're passionate about something and you believe in something, and as you said, you've got something that you know will work, it's going to be successful one way or another. As long as you've got the right team and the right people in your corner, it's
definitely
really gonna succeed. I'm really interested, Jared, mate, to really find out. I mean, not going over to places like Africa where you're funding wells and that's where a lot of the profits were going, you know, from bottled water. What was it like actually going there for the very first time, instead of seeing all these things on videos? What was that like in your mind, mate? How did that make you feel?
It was mind blowing. That's for sure. Like the first trips were to Cambodia.
Is that where the first trip was?
Yeah, first trip for me was, for everyone was Cambodia.
Okay.
We were doing some wells and filtration systems there, and just the most beautiful people. I don't know if you've been to Southeast Asia, but Cambodia in particular, like obviously they've had a hell of a time with all of the just crazy, you know, crimes against humanity that has happened there. It's just unbelievable. But still just the most beautiful people, so welcoming, so friendly, and to have a part or play a part in their life that gives them access to safe water, and now they don't have to, you know, suffer through illness and can go to school and get an education. And man, it was so humbling, so humbling. And we always said, like, even if we just did this for one family in Cambodia, like the fight and the 3 to 4 years of toiling, and even now the guys are, you know, it's not an easy slog, that's for sure. Like, it's a hard business to run, but even if it was for one family,
it's all worth it.
Amazing.
Yeah,
you know, it's just like, and you would know the same thing. Like, you help one person, man, it's all worth it. You know, like that one soul. So Cambodia was a great trip, and I got to go to Kenya and Burundi, and I think Kenya was a kind of a profound trip, or like a transformative trip for me. My wife and I, we'd been looking for a new rental in Box Hill North, in eastern suburbs of Melbourne, and we walked into this one place, beautiful place, small little 2-bedroom kind of unit, and the kitchen in particular was extremely small, to the point when we're in the kitchen, albeit very new and shiny, very small. And we looked at each other, we're like, how could we handle this? Like, this is just so small. Like the size of my son's cot that I'm looking at right now. And we walked out. We ended up putting an offer in, and we got the rental. And then 2 or 3 weeks later, I was in Kenya, and this lady, Veronica, was showing us around her house, and super proud of her house and her dwellings. And I think she had 5 or 6 children. And we went into this one section of her house. And when I say house, I'm talking like mud bricks up to about maybe 6 or 7 foot tall, no roof, nothing. Like, it literally looked like, and I mean this with no offense whatsoever, like a bomb site. Like, the walls weren't even perfect. They were kind of staggered up. Like, it looked like a bomb had gone off in there. But so proud of it. So proud to bring people into her house, show us her kitchen, man. Show us where she cooked her food, and she offered us, I think it was coffee or something she wanted us to, you know, take part in. And for me, that was a perspective shifter. Like 2 weeks ago, I'm complaining about this brand spanking new kitchen, but it wasn't big enough for me. Like, who am I? What am I doing? So for me, that was, huge perspective shifter. Put everything into place, everything where it should be, what actually matters in life. And and it was a great trip. I still remember that exact moment.
Really puts things into perspective, doesn't it, man? It really, I guess you would have felt really, you know, after the few hard years of slogging, like you said, man, you hit it on the head. It's all worth it. It's all worth those
Yeah.
blood, sweat, and tears just to save one life or change one life.
100%,
And it's
man.
amazing that, you know, you got this off the ground in the first place and were able to get to Cambodia after a few years, you know, and start seeing the work that was getting done. And I think that would have made things a lot more rewarding for yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Life-changing moments.
Yeah. Sure. Do you, I mean, you know, as a co-founder of Thank You, and I know you spent 10 years in there before you departed, what was some of the highlights throughout your experience?
Oh man, so many to choose from. We I guess the whole premise of Thank You was never going to be just bottled water. Like the idea was always bigger than that. The idea was, how do we shake up business and run things different to the way that they've always run before? So couple that with, what are some major needs in the world? Obviously, access to water is one. Access to food and food security is another. Health and hygiene and sanitation issues, maternal infant health programs. Like, there's a lot of really basic human rights and needs that we wanted to kind of try and tackle. So at about the 5-year mark, we came up with an idea to bring out a range of food, muesli bars, to fund food programs. And
I think I bought some at one stage.
Good man. Yeah, maybe that cranberry yogurt bar.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah, from Woolworths or Coles.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So at the same time, we launched that. We also launched a range of body care and hand wash, hand sanitizer products, and then they funded health and hygiene and sanitation programs. So I guess the milestone moment, or one of the key moments in Thank You was a campaign we launched to get into Coles and Woolworths. We had the products, we didn't have a retailer, and we needed a retailer to fund the programs that we wanted to fund. So we launched this crazy campaign. It started off with a video on Facebook of Dan and the team, us walking through this warehouse out in Kensington, Victoria. And the whole premise of the idea was around, hey guys, if you want to see the Thank You range stocked in Coles and Woolworths, then jump onto their Facebook page and tell them if they stocked it, you would buy it. Once again, really simple idea. But the masses just got on board. Thousands of people putting posts up, people videos, singing, rapping, dancing. Like, it was just, the lengths that people went to was mind blowing just to get the Thank You products on shelf. We had these 2 helicopter pilots. We thought, like, how do we get it off social media? Because social media is great, but how do we hit into kind of more mainstream media? And this one idea, a crazy idea, was, let's fly a sign around Coles and Woolworths head office with a big sign saying, you know, thank you for changing the world if you say yes, because we hadn't met with him yet. So we pitched to these helicopter pilots. They jumped on board. They didn't charge us anything. We just had to cover the fuel. So we got that money from someone else, because once again, if the idea is big enough and good enough, the money just comes. And so these 2 helicopter pilots, one in Victoria, one in New South Wales, flew over Coles and Woolworths head office, and with I think it was a 10,000 square foot sign. So a massive sign, 30 meters by 30 meters. It was just enormous. And up the Monash, as people from Victoria would know, is an absolute car park at 8 a.m. in the morning. So they got a full view of it. And unbeknownst to us, we spoke to one of their directors. It was probably about 2 years after the campaign, and it turned out they were having a board meeting in the top floor of that head office. All
You're
the
kidding.
directors were chairman. Like, you couldn't write it, and they're all watching this sign just float around their building, going, "What the hell is going on here?"
Wow.
So that was a good time. So we ended up getting ranging. The public support was so great that Coles jumped on board, Woolworths jumped on board. They did their quickest product to market launches they've ever done. Like, I think within about 4 to 6 weeks, product was on shelf, which is just unheard of.
That was the first. So from that campaign that you guys ran off, just a really simple idea where people rallied behind and wanted to make it happen. That was when you guys got to start in Coles and Woolworths with your products.
That was it. That was it, man. We had pitched in through traditional channels a couple of times. with just the water product, and just got knocked back.
Speaking to buyers, getting emailed through, speaking to the gatekeepers, just a bunch
doing
of
the whole thing. We got a commitment for ranging from one of them, which was very exciting. That was high fives around the office for days. We were so pumped. And then the way that Coles and Woolworths work is, every 12 months the buyers move on. They don't form relationships with anyone. They just move on, and a new buyer comes in with their direction. So the old buyer gave us a commitment. We called him up to ask for delivery dates and and when should we turn on the machine to start producing this stuff. And a new buyer answered and goes, "Oh mate, that commitment doesn't stand. That was an old buyer's commitment. I've got my own direction for the category, and it's not with thank you." So back to the drawing board. So back to hence the big campaign, mate. We had to do something a little different to get their attention.
Wow, mate, that would have, and so that really launched, the product, all the product ranges into, stores all across the country in Australia, and I mean, revenues would have grown, exponentially from that.
It was crazy, mate. Hundreds of percent year on year. Like it just kept on going. Like the hockey stick curve was really, really nice. So pointing in the right direction anyway. And I guess we were. Sorry, you go.
No, you go, mate. You go.
Oh, I was just gonna say another exciting little moment was obviously got Coles and Lewis on board, and then we really wanted to tackle the child maternal health programs, those issues around the world. Kids are dying every minute from really preventable issues. It's just not maybe the place they're giving birth in isn't clean. Maybe they don't have the right drugs. Like it's just some really simple things that they just don't have access to in a lot of these third world countries. So we wanted to try and help there too. So we launched a range of nappies and baby care products, and it was at a similar time to when we had our first child, and we could really just relate really clearly with what was going on. Like Jess had an interesting labour story, and I'm sure probably any woman or husband listening who's been through it has got an interesting story. Like labour's just the most hectic thing in the world.
Women have it a lot harder than us men, that's for sure.
Mate, we are so soft compared to women.
So much compassion for sure. Man.
Absolutely. I think I went to ask for some Panadol during my my wife's labour. I had a little headache, and that didn't go down too well. Just got the daggers, mate. What are you asking for Panadol?
Yeah, that wouldn't have gone down well at all.
No, not well, mate. Might try it again for the third.
Mate, so with all, obviously with the ups, comes the downs in any part of life, whether it's a successful business, whether it's a relationship, or, just the punches of life, I guess. Can you pinpoint anything in particular that was sort of a red flag or something that, wasn't so memorable for you? Throughout your experience as a co-founder in a multi-million-dollar social impact organization that's huge. What were some of the, I guess, experiences, or what were some of the times that really rocked you, mate, or struggled you? Like, did you have anything?
Definitely had. We had a really interesting couple-year period. I guess in the business. The business goes through a lot of change, like every organization is going to go through change, especially startups. Like the thing's just constantly changing. So you got to adapt to that really quickly and be okay with that. A lot of people struggle with change. I learned to adapt with it reasonably well until it started kind of impacting me personally. I guess is kind of where I started to well, pump the brakes a little bit. Why are we changing so much? And so there was a period towards the end where a lot of structures started changing, a lot of roles started changing, a lot of new people were coming in. As the business grew, we had to scale up and get some expertise in the building, I guess. That kind of started impacting me a little bit. So my role changed from a really fluffy title, commercial director. What does that even mean? And I'm not one for titles at all, but basically what it meant was I had a lot of scope. I was in a lot of different rooms, handling a lot of different things, and I really liked the variety. That was something which gave me a lot of fulfillment, was just variety and being able to work on a bunch of different things. That started to shift as the business grew. So it turned from that to more of a focus in supply chain. And I like supply chain, but I'm not a supply chain specialist.
It's not where your passion is. It's not where your purpose was.
Not what I'm passionate about. Like, I enjoy it. I enjoy getting product from A to B and making things work and seeing that through the whole supply chain. I enjoy it, but it doesn't bring me fulfillment, just solely that. So my role changed to just that, and then it was going to shift again to an even more specialist part of the supply chain. And for me, it was alarm bells. Like, there was that may not seem to the listener as like a reason to hang up the boots, but in the background, like, we had a hell of a couple of years personally. So we had these there used to always be these jokes around whenever Jess and I got on a holiday, something would go wrong. Like, something always happened, whether it was sickness or something would blow up with the business and you wouldn't be able to relax, and I'd have to be doing stuff the whole time on one holiday. Like, something would always happen. The worst of it was probably a trip to Noosa. I think it was back in 2017. Went up to Noosa. Second night we'd been there, got a phone call the next morning from the police, which is always good, down in Victoria, going, "Your house has been broken into. Sorry to let you know." And so we're like, "Oh no, what a bugger." They said there's not much you can do. May as well just try and enjoy your trip and come home when you plan to come home. So we came home at the end of the trip. That place was an absolute bomb site. Like, stuff was everywhere. They'd gone through literally everything, smashed my laptop, smashed my iPad just for fun, left it sitting there, just smashed it, stole thousands of dollars worth of jewelry. Stuff was just everywhere. Pretty annoying, to say the least, and really just invasive. And you just feel violated, knowing that, there's 4 or 5 blokes who've just been rummaging through every drawer in your house. It didn't feel good. And anyone who's been burgled would know that exact feeling, that invasion of privacy, that violation that you kind of feel. It wasn't too good. So that really that spun my head out massively. I didn't sleep for days. Like, every noise I heard outside at night was just, someone's coming back. Is that them? Are they coming back to finish the job? I've got a family, I've got a little daughter. What am I going to do? Like, I was really kind of tripping out on it all. And I reckon I probably had my first anxiety attack, I guess, during that time. I had to do a speaking engagement one morning, and the night before I was just flipping out, man.
Well, so hold that thought. So you thought the burglary this stuff was being linked to what you were doing for work?
No, not at all.
Not at all. Okay.
Sorry, yeah, I might not have made that clear. It was very separate, but just the personal side of things.
Okay.
Probably explains more why I ended up deciding to hang up the boots as well. Thank you.
Okay.
So like kind of flipped out during the whole burglary thing. We ended up moving house shortly afterwards. We couldn't stay there anymore. Apparently I had a nice V8 big SS Commodore, and apparently the cops were saying that, oh mate, I love it. I got another one now just a couple of weeks ago. But the cops were saying that these type of guys who burgle places love high-powered vehicles. So they were most likely looking for the keys to the car.
Wow.
So my whole concern was, they know we're home, they know we've got the keys, they're probably going to come back and try and get the car. So I was just like, that story was going round and round in my head. So we had to leave. We moved to another place in Chadstone. And then 4 months after living in Chatty, came home. It was another little staycation this time. Went down to the beach a couple of days after Christmas, and come home and the garage door wouldn't open. We're like, what's going on here? So Jess, my wife, walks inside, and smoke alarms are going off, thick smoke everywhere. And we're like, what has happened? So call the fire brigade. The fire is coming in a couple of minutes. They're amazing. Came in, opened up the garage, and the switchboard had gone up and put smoke everywhere. And the fire is reckoned at about 30 more minutes, the whole place would have been up. But the smoke damage was so great that we had to throw everything out.
Wow,
So
no
like
kidding.
everything wiped out, dry cleaned all the clothes and spent $5,000 doing that, or some ridiculous number. But yeah, everything gone, start again. And this is, I think Jess might have been around 25 or 26 weeks pregnant with our second child at the time. So we're all gearing up, ready for like get the nursery set up,
Mm-hmm.
get the little one ready to rock, and then we're forced to throw everything out and start again. So moved in with her parents for a couple of
Yeah,
months,
right.
and they were amazing putting us up. And but then the whole thing, like, so we're in there for 2 months. The whole thing in the head again is, are we going to find a new place?
Yeah.
What's going to happen
So you're
here?
going
Are
through
we
your own
giving
levels of
birth?
anxiety and a little bit of
Yeah, big time,
overthinking and
man.
stuff like that.
Oh man, could not turn the mind off. Like it's just spinning a million miles an hour. 2 weeks before Jess was due, by the grace of God, an absolute miracle, found a beautiful place to live in. Started again, bought all new furniture again, and kicked off. But this is like that move into that other place, and then giving birth to Josie came at the time when everything at Thank You was kind of going a little crazy too.
Okay.
So like I'm already starting to stress out and have that anxiety, and started kind of going down a pretty dark rabbit hole, if I'm going to be honest. So then couple that with the stress and all the change at Thank You, and feeling like an outsider in my own business, which was a weird concept to kind of to feel. I knew I had to do something. Like I wasn't in a good place. Like I was just, everything was numb, just down all the time. Nothing got me excited. Nothing made me happy. I wasn't in a good spot. So I knew I had to make a change for the sake of myself, for the sake of my family, and hung the boots up. So that's something which probably no one's ever heard before. But mate, I love living. I love what you're doing, mate. So if this story can assist anyone in their journey, mate, happy to share till the cows come home.
Amen to that, mate. Amen to that. And I appreciate you sharing, and you're sharing wearing a Living Top, I see too there, mate. Thanks very much
Absolutely,
for representing.
mate.
That's the new
Absolutely.
art t-shirt. That one's selling like hotcakes, that one too.
Mate, as it should, mate. It's a ripper. And I think that for me was like, this top speaks so loudly to me. I was living that. I had the facade on. I didn't even speak to my wife about all this stuff.
Yeah, wow.
I just carried everything. I was a typical bloke, just bottling everything up, push it right down deep, and just put a happy face on. And then when things start to unravel, and mate, the whole thing just came down.
How did it? Yeah, mate. It gets very scary, doesn't it? It can get very scary, especially when the people that are so close to you in your own life, being in your position, was your wife, Jess, and her not really having any idea what's going on. I mean, that's when it's scary, because like you're holding back, and then you're fighting these demons alone, and then going through I find that interesting. You said earlier where you're in your own organization, where you sort of felt like an outsider, so you had to sort of do something about it. How did Thank You get to that stage where it grew so big and people did feel like they were getting pushed away or pushed around and put into different jobs, and the autonomy and stuff wasn't there? What do you put that down to? Poor leadership? You put that down to getting too big too fast, or what is it?
Mate, yeah, the growth, exponential growth. Like it was almost, and I can't speak for anyone else in their journey, but for me, it was like the organization had just it almost outgrown me. Maybe it did. Maybe it outgrew me.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in seasons, for sure. Like there's seasons in life, and
so true, man.
And you're here for one moment and there for a next. So I believe I played my part, and my time, kind of just was up. So I don't think it was a poor leadership thing. I think it was just the company just grew big, man. We had 50 odd products, 52 staff. Like it was a solid organization. And just needed different skill sets and different ideas in there.
And I guess that's what happens, mate, with a lot of organizations in the world. You start off very small, and I'm seeing it with for example with Livin. We started in my kitchen many years ago with t-shirts, and now we've got 7 odd staff, and we're looking to hire a couple more, and we've got an office now, and it is growing. And one thing that we always keep in mind and what's really important to us is ensuring that our staff, feel very loved and feel very part of the organization, like it's their own, just like our community does. And I think that's very important to create that culture so that people do feel as one rather than feeling like you're by yourself or you're trying to fight this battle alone, because that can get very lonely. And then if you couple that with experiences outside of work, it's really not that pleasant. So I appreciate you sharing that with me, mate. I really do. And I think being an entrepreneur like yourself, I think a big part of you probably get a bit restless from time to time. And I look at these things and you probably look back now going, fuck, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I served a season in Thank You. I started something from nothing. I got it to 58 staff and raising millions of dollars a year. And now I'm able to step aside and, take myself somewhere else and do something brand new. And on that note, mate, you are starting something brand new. And I want to talk to you.
We are.
You started Narrative Lab. Is that correct?
We have, mate. Yeah. So we I took a bit of time off post Thank You just to get the head
decompress
back in order. Yeah, and life back in order. And
how was that for you, mate? How was that? I mean, getting how was that transition for you mentally? Coming from a pretty scary place.
It was hard, man. It was hard. Like, it's hard saying goodbye to something you started.
Yep, like your own baby.
Yeah, exactly right. Your own baby. You've grown it for 10 years, and then you're off. That was really hard.
What did it feel like?
What was harder though was,
what did it feel like?
What did it feel like? I mean, you go through a roller coaster of emotions. Really, like you literally probably hit every emotion under the sun, from sadness to anger to disappointment to joy. Like it was just all over the shop. And then you think you're right, and you think you've forgiven the whole thing, and then next minute something happens and it shoots you straight back down again. Like it's taken. I would say now I'm good. Like I'm really good. Like all is well. I'm cheering the guys on for sure. They're kicking goals. They're doing great. Took a little while to get there, for sure. Just being real. And then personally, it was a good few months. Hit the gym hard. I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is just great from a mentality point of view. There is nothing else you can think about when you're doing that, because the bloke's trying to rip your head off or break your arm. Like, you have to just be 100% in that moment, which was really good for me. And just talking to my wife and started seeing a counsellor and talking to the boys and just getting their kind of insight and their thoughts. Like, it took some time. I guess they were some things that helped me get through that transition.
So it was like a combination of a number of different things, and sort of finding your little safe haven strategy, you might like to call it, that sort of got you through those tough times. And mate, I think for anyone, and you've got to give yourself permission to feel like that, because once you start something and you've been in it for so long, it's almost like your identity would be part of that. Your identity created almost indirectly, not that you've meant to, but it directly it happens.
Oh, mate, everything was thank you.
Yeah, like your thank you, and thank you's you. And when you're sort of giving that off and you're stepping away from it and not even managing it from a day-to-day basis or having any calls on what's going on, mate, I fucking reckon that'd be very daunting. I'm just trying to put myself in your shoes right now, and I think that'd be very tough for anyone. So I congratulate you for being able to get through that transition, man, and
appreciate it, man.
Walking through with your head held high, knowing the impact that you've done and the organization that you've created and the impact that you've had on so many people's lives all over the world. I think is a real testament to the way you handle the situation, mate, and the work that you do now.
Appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, onwards and upwards.
Yeah, onwards and upwards. And mate, I was very fortunate enough to get one of your care packages actually.
Yes.
Narrative Lab. Can you talk to me
Smelling
about
good?
That, yeah, mate. It smells amazing. It smells amazing.
Good to know.
I actually, believe it or not, it's a funny story. You sent you sent a couple of little items to me, and one of them was a female's cologne. And
you're not wearing that, are you?
No, I'm not wearing it, but I gave it to my my missus as a gift. How good's that one?
Did she know it was from you or from me?
Yeah, it was from both of us, from Jared and from Sam. But mate, loves it. We all love it. I appreciate it, mate, sending it across. And what another remarkable startup that you've got your brain invested in, mate. Talk to me about it.
Thank you, man. Yeah, we came up with the idea back in Hong Kong, of all places. We were over there scouting what are some new products. They had a massive cosmetics show on back in, I think it was November of 2019. 2018, I'm getting confused now. 2018. Cosmetics Expo, and we just started looking at our own lives going, what are some products we love? We love great products. We love innovative products. We love cool products. What are some things which we use daily? And can we put our spin on it and make it cool? We looked at perfume and aftershave and thought, what a great industry to give a little shake up to. For so long, it's been dominated by the big multis who, fill the product with 70% of alcohol, keep their costs down, nasty products, parabens galore. It's just, it was due a little shake up. So we created a solid version of it called Narrative Lab fragrances. So it's solid perfume, which is also customizable. So it comes in a cool little vessel. The product is made of like these plant-based oils, solidified into a wax with the perfume embedded into it. And you give a little swirl and you can customize it between 3 different scents in the one little vessel. So you can really create your own scent off the base kind of fragrance that we sent you. So that's the product. It goes a little deeper than that when we talk about the naming strategy of it. So the names of the products are, Protector, Fearless, Crushing It, Take the Moment, Awaken, like these words or sayings which are empowering of nature. So often in life, people speak negativity over you, or you get boxed into a little thing. And all 4 of us who kind of kicked this off, 3 of us kicked this off, had kind of had that happen to us. So being boxed in or negativity spoken over, you can't do this, you're not good enough to do that. So we thought, why not create something where you can have a moment every single day where you're putting on your fearless, and that's the mentality that you're going to take for the day. You're putting on your protector, you're putting on your crushing it, and you're just going to go crush that meeting. So that was kind of the premise behind it all. We launched some rollerball perfume oils about 3 or 4 months ago. They're going well.
They're awesome.
So the whole thing's it's a bit of a passion project. It goes pretty deep, but everyone seems to love it. The product's cool. Appreciate your feedback, and it's going good.
I love what I really do like about it is where you essentially can manage how you smell. So you get the base, then you've got those layers that you can put on it, so it can become more intense or less intense.
Yeah.
No, I do really like.
Correct.
And I think it's a great idea. Another great idea that you've masterminded and put together, and I've got no doubt that it will be another success itself. And what do you think? What do you think, mate? I mean, looking back at everything that you've done over the years, Narrative Lab is obviously the latest passion project that you're investing, time and energy and probably resources into. What do you believe, for anyone, for all of the listeners, for all of our audience, and for anyone who's going to dial into this, what do you think is made up of any necessary ingredients for someone who's willing to start their own venture, whether it's a charity, whether it's just a business, if it's someone working on a business right now that's thinking of giving up because it's not going anywhere? What's some advice? What's some of the best advice that you could give from your experiences?
Oh man, how long do we have? We could chat for another 4 hours on this topic. I think a couple real simple ones. Self-awareness is key. I think understanding what you're good at and what you can do is really, really important, especially in the world of entrepreneurship. Like I could practice basketball until the cows come home. I'm probably never going to be a basketballer. So like being self-aware enough on that, knowing what you can do and what you may not be capable of doing, or what comes easy to you. I think honing in on that for entrepreneurship is pretty key. It is a tough journey. So if you're already pushing uphill by doing things out of your skill set, then you're going to have a really tough time. And that a lot of the time comes down to what you're passionate about. You're normally good at what you're passionate about. So finding something you're passionate about will help in that. I think also a couple other P words after we talk about passion is persistence and patience. Patience to understand that it's not going to happen overnight. A lot of people look at thank you and be like, oh, I've only just heard of it. What an overnight success story that was. That's 10 years and counting of blood, sweat and tears. Like, we didn't win a retail deal for the first 3 years. We were making no money, you know, but we knew the idea was good and we had the patience to kind of see it through. If you're wanting a quick win, man, if you figure it out, let me know, because I've never come across one. I thought cryptocurrency was going to be a quick win for me and invested heavily, and now I'm down about 80% after the recent crash. So I don't think there's anything like a quick win out there. So you got patience, passion, and then persistence. Push through, keep pushing, keep going. You know, fall down 6, get up 7. Like, just keep going. If you're passionate enough about it and you have the ability to keep on going, then man, keep on going. It won't be easy. It will probably take twice as long as you expect it to, but man, just keep on going.
It's all worth it though, isn't it, mate? Really, because if you really love something and you're really passionate about something and you do devote your time and energy to it and work hard, it's bound to pay off in one way or another, and you learn a lot along the way. And I think so many people are so tied up on looking at what the end goal is like. Like, I want to set up this business, or I want to set up this charity, and this is what I want it to do. And they miss the actual process of all that great stuff that happens in between, like the journey of getting there. You know, spending the 3 or 4 years on the ground and then getting to the first well to have a look at in your case, and then hiring teams, moving into an office. This is all part of the process. And it's something that I think a lot of people take for granted because they're always wanting the outcome rather than taking all the necessary systems and processes to get there. And I think, as you said perfectly, it takes a lot of great habits to be able to practice daily. And it's the little habits that you practice every single day that add up to make a massive difference in your life. And I think that's just important for people to understand that. And I think on the contrary for you, mate, I mean, a theme that's come up throughout this discussion is the power of letting go, the power of letting go of something that doesn't serve you anymore, that doesn't serve you the same purpose or the same passion. And that's okay. And it's okay if people are listening and, you know, they because mate, I'm scared of letting go in certain things in my life.
Yes.
What
aren't we all?
I think we all are, you know, and a great example, like I love, for example, when if I'm lucky to get a new shirt or I'm upgraded my living wardrobe, whatever that looks like, I like to get one and then give one. And I love giving things. I love not hoarding things. You know? I like letting go of my possessions if they no longer serve me. It's so much harder than doing that with other things in life, you know, like friendships, relationships, business.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips and tricks about letting go? Because I think that's something that we all struggle with. You've been through something that's I haven't actually spoken to anyone yet in regards to a situation that you've been in where you started something so big. It's been so great. There's been a lot of wins, obviously been a lot of, you know, challenges along the way, but you eventually let go. And I think that process would have been, you know, it's interesting.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm not sure how to answer that, but let's just spitball some thoughts. I think I got to a point where my identity. I think I'd been through enough SH1T where I was now comfortable. You know what? Like, I think there's something else out there. I think there's more out there. Like I think I've served a great season, and we've made a hell of an impact. Even $6 million, helped nearly 1 million people. Like, it's been amazing. But now I think there's more out there. I think I just come to the end of a season. It was hard. I'm not going to say it wasn't hard. It was hard to let go. Like, there was a lot of emotion and a lot of tears, which I'm sure you find hard to believe from a big, tough guy like me. But it was tough. I think I started to realize the bigger picture in life, though.
Yeah.
Where I could disconnect myself from thank you and almost pull myself out of call it the thank you bubble, like being in that internal world, and look at what was happening in my life, macro, like in my whole life. Look at my wife, my kids, everything that was kind of going on financially, and go, nah, for the sake of that, for the sake of my life, like I have to make a change. And being okay with that, that took a while. Like, I'm talking 2 years of battling it. Thank you. Like, it wasn't an overnight light bulbs on, let's go. Like, it
totally.
took a long time. Like, it's your baby, so you want to hang in there as long as possible. But I got to a point where it's just, I almost gave myself permission. Like,
it sounds like that.
It's okay to go.
So
like, you served a good time.
What I'm hearing you say is, and definitely please correct me if I'm wrong, but
shoot,
you got to a place where you're at peace with your decision over a couple of years, and you decided that your identity was no longer your identity isn't just solely tied to one organization, and you gave yourself permission to sort of say, you know what, not that I'm greater or I'm better or I'm worthy than this, but it was for you. It's like, you know what, I'm at peace with it. I've done my dues. I've done that season there. Now I'm going to step back. I'm going to transition into my next project, and I'm going to give myself permission to invest into that, and I'm going to give myself, the patience to invest into that. So it sounds like,
100%.
Yeah.
You said it much better than I, but you nailed it. And I think it was also a matter of looking at where Thank You was at as an organization and going, and I don't need a pat on the back for this selfless act, but it was almost like, I think there's someone else that could do this better now. You know what I mean? Like, I played my part, and now for the sake of the organization, like, go forth, bring whoever needs to come in, and let them take it to the next level. And I'm okay with that. Like, it took a while to come to that place. But that's also was an important part in finding closure, the whole thing.
Yeah, and I think that I look at that. So from being in my position that I'm in right now, and listening to you say this, I feel like that's a very, very strong leadership quality from yourself, because I believe that no one's sort of better than anyone, but I also believe that certain people, are necessary at certain stages throughout a life cycle or a journey that have different expertise, or they have different skill sets, and they serve different purposes. And it's not that they're better than you or they're worse than you. It's just the timing of life, and that was just where it's at. And I think for you to be able to go, you know what, I'm done. I'm checking out. I'm going to go on to my next mission. You're actually leading Thank You to now take its next step to go into even bigger and better things. And had you have restricted that, and had you have, shut the door on it and been resistant and been negative about it, maybe it would never have gone to that level. So that's what I look at, from that perspective, mate. So I believe that you've done amazing work. You continue to do amazing work. I think, your work has, definitely in the Australian community never gone unnoticed. And I'm sure when you step foot into these third world countries where, lack of water or lack of clean water is an issue, I mean, those guys would be forever grateful to you and the work that your organization has done, mate, for eternity.
It was amazing. It was a great experience, that's for sure.
Before we wrap up, Jared, I do want to ask you a couple of really quick questions. Where can people find you if they want to, search for you on social media or follow your journey with Narrative Lab? Where can they find you, mate? And I'm also going to put all this stuff in the show notes too, so that people can follow you.
Cool.
Facebook group as well, guys. So don't forget to join the Facebook group after this. And we'll continue the conversation.
Yeah, awesome. You can hear more about Narrative at Narrative Lab Fragrances on Instagram. Myself, you can hit me up at Jared Burns, JARRYD Burns. Weird spelling, thanks to my parents, but it is what it is. There you will see lots of just photos of my family. I'm that guy who just puts up photos of his kids and his wife, and things are the most important thing to me. So it won't be the most interesting page, that's for sure. But if you want to see my fam, then come along.
Mm-hmm. Well, mate, that's awesome, and I wish you all the best with your third child.
Thank you, mate.
Any names, mate, getting thrown around, or is that off?
Well, mate.
Secret?
Well, it's going to start with a J. So I'm Jared, my wife's Jordan, and then we've got my wife's Jess, my eldest daughter's Jordan, and then my youngest daughter's Josie. So it's going to be another J.
Okay.
What it is, we're just going to keep it under wraps.
Nice, mate.
Yeah. Another
keep it under wraps, and I'm sure I'll see his name running around soon.
You will, mate. Hope you like it.
Yeah. No, I'm sure, no doubt it will be, mate. And I wish you all the best with your future endeavors, the work that you're currently doing right now. I appreciate you taking the time out to jump on the podcast to share some of your wisdoms with all of us. No doubt it will add a lot of value into people's lives, mate. And I thank you for all that you've done for the world and you continue to do.
Thank you, mate. And same back to you. The work you guys are doing is just amazing. So it's an honor to be a part of it.
Thanks, mate. And always remember, it ain't weak to speak.